Hello captains and welcome to Star Trek Online. This video today is a preview of the Vorgon Ytijara Dreadnought Cruiser Tier 6 starship, which is the summer event reward on Risa for 2018. This is just a preview video. This will be very short. I am not going to explore a lot about this ship because, quite simply, I just got the ship and literally just unpacked it. So this is a raw look at the base Vorgon Ytijara. That is the base specifications, nothing added to it, only what you get when you unpack the ship, so that you know exactly what you get with the ship, what it looks like, and we'll give you hopefully some ideas of builds you can do with it in the future. And certainly I will be working on testing different builds myself. Right now there is no specific build on this ship. I only have the gear that came with the ship when I unpacked it. And I just want to show it to you in that default form so that you know what you are getting by grinding the summer event. First of all, this is a dreadnought. It is a dreadnought cruiser, so think along the lines of very engineering oriented. It has a commander engineering, so you'll have a tier 3 engineering bridge officer abilities on it. It leans very heavily on the engineering side of things. It has a lot of engineering console slots. Also, because it's a dreadnought, it has one hangar bay, just one hangar bay. Also, because it's a Vorgon, based on the Vorgon ships, it is Tetrion based. That is, the energy weapon type that it comes with is Tetrion. And the fighters, I believe, also fire Tetrions. So if you want to keep the ship thematic to Vorgon theme, and to keep all your energy types the same on the ship, you are probably going to want a Tetrion build. And I'm just guessing, throwing it out there, that maybe a Nukara setup on this thing would be good, the Nukara reputation. Because that generally does good for more Tetrion-based things. And also, I think this might also have just a little bit of a science lean in some aspects, but mainly it's engineering. But we'll take a look at everything that this has on it right now, in fact. So again, I'm going to bring up, let's just take it, before we bring up and look what it comes with, let's take a close look at it here, because we've got it in space. It's got that very unique texture on it. I'm zoomed in all the way right now, by the way, so this is what the ship would look like if you were flying it all the way zoomed in. Very pointy in the front, kind of opened underneath. Don't know what purpose that serves. Obviously, you don't need any type of wing shape things in space because that just doesn't apply. So it's really probably just for looks. I mean, I guess you could expand it and say, hey, it helps with warp bubble stability. So let's just go with something techno-babbly like that. This whole part down here, this fin, the ship has a fin, and that's going to help with warp bubble stability. There we go. There's our techno-babble answer. Obviously, it's just for looks, but that's how it is. Honestly, I would say, for me, if I were going to redesign this ship or design it myself, I would take away this whole bottom part. Just cut it right here and take away all of that. Take away all of that and then just leave this part of it. Because I think without that part there, with just this part on top, I think it would look better. I really, really do. I think it looks kind of funky the way it is. Just kind of funky. It would look a lot better without this bottom part hanging down here and this little, like, rudder. Why does it have a rudder? So yeah, it's got some design differences, choices that I would change, but I like the way that where the engines are placed are actually on the sides here. You see that? The engines here are on the side, and I'm guessing these are the warp nacelles as well, which I like that design part of it. It looks really cool, and they're swept forward, which I always like wings that are swept forward like that. It gives it a real aggressive look. Is if just this bottom part would come off. gives it a real aggressive look. It's got big bubbly windows. It looks to be very large. I haven't looked at it next to other ships yet, so I don't know the exact size, but we'll look at it next to another ship and see what it looks like size-wise. But that gives you a good view of it overall. If I zoom all the way out, here is what it looks like all the way zoomed out. So I guess it's not a huge ship, because even zoomed all the way out, it's kind of small on the screen, which typically indicates not a really big ship. So I do wonder how it compares size-wise to other ships. Let's see if we can fly close to some ships parked out here in space and just compare it by size, because I'm curious myself how it lines up with other ships. Let's find some familiar ships over here. There's a familiar cruiser, Federation cruiser, obviously, an NPC ship here, but we can kind of see the size differences nonetheless to that. And we'll fly over there in a second to the other ships, but if I come up on this ship, yeah, it's definitely bigger than that, but you know what? It's not wildly bigger than that I thought it would be. Honestly, this is not a big dreadnought. I'm going with this is on the smaller side for a dreadnought. Let's fly it next to something else familiar. What ships do we have out here? Ooh, here we go. Is that a Galaxy class right there? Yeah, let's fly it next to the Galaxy class. We're all familiar with that kind of size of a Galaxy class. Okay, look at this then. The Dreadnought is actually very similar to a Galaxy class in size. Look at that. Okay, this is not a big ship then. See, I was thinking just from viewing it out there in where we were just looking at it that it was a big ship, but no, let's check this out. This is not really a huge ship. It's maybe a little bit, I don't know, maybe the same kind of size as a Galaxy class. Internal space, I really have no idea like how many crew it sustains, but it's very slender, and I mean lengthwise it's maybe a little bit longer than the Galaxy, but widthwise not so much. I mean, most of the habitable part, I guess, is in this nose section here. So, you know, this is not a big ship. This is actually a rather Galaxy class size ship. So there's a shocker right there, first of all. I thought this would be like a really big ship, but it's just not. It's a dreadnought, but it's not a huge dreadnought. Okay, well, that's interesting to know. That'll kind of help you decide, you know, how to fly the ship, your flying type and all that. Let's put it up next to the Vengeance, the JJ prize. Thought that was a Vengeance for a second, only by the skin, but no, that is a JJ prize. So let's put it up against that, which we know is definitely bigger than a Galaxy, or as big as a Galaxy. And yeah, this is not an overall large ship that I'm flying here, this Dreadnought. Okay, well, that's interesting. So now we have a size comparison for what this thing looks like in space. Cool. Alright, now I'm going to bring up the inventory build on this thing, and I'm going to show you what it comes with by default. So when I unpacked it, this is what I got. And yes, you'll see I have taken it into combat once. I tested it in the Borg Red Alert, just to test it out with this gear. And I obviously was not doing a lot of DPS with it, but I have not configured it yet. So this is just what you get when you unpack it. And you'll see it comes with a Tetrion beam up front, another Tetrion beam up front, and a Chronoton torpedo. Then in the back, a very interesting array of things: a Tetrion turret, a Tetrion beam, Chronoton torpedo, a Chronoton mine launcher, and a Tetrion beam. So a very interesting mix of weaponry on this thing, but it has 5 aft weapon slots and only 3 fore weapon slots. It does have 1 hangar bay. So interesting how the aft is set up with so many weapon slots compared to the fore. I'm guessing that they're thinking you're probably going to put mines on this ship, and maybe that's why there's so many aft weapon slots for mines. Now, I personally don't use mines in this game, never have, never will. I'm just not that kind of a person to deploy mines and hope that the enemy will fly into them. No, I don't like that. I like to shoot my enemies, so I would probably opt for 360-degree beams in the back, and probably not turrets. I would not go the turret and cannon route on this ship. It turns too slow for that. And that's just my opinion. Of course, I haven't tried other things yet, but I would probably go for 360-degree beams on the back. And that way, no matter where you're turned, no matter how the ship is turned, they will always fire at the enemy. And that's important for a slow-moving ship like this, because it does turn slow. It is a slow-moving ship. It's not carrier slow, but it's slow. The hangar bay it comes with is the Vorgon frigates, Vorgon Rheincoden carrier, and Ytijara Dreadnought Cruiser. Comes with these frigates. They have 2 times Tetrion beam arrays, 1 Tetrion dual beam, 1 Tetrion beam array, 1 Chronoton mine launcher, mine dispersal pattern 1, and suppression barrage. So the frigates do have mines on them. I would let them do the mines, and I just wouldn't worry about it myself. But as you can see, it is Tetrion based on the hangars. So again, if you want to keep, thematic and keep everything the same, you'll want to go with Tetrions. These are level 66. Each hangar supports 2 deployed ships at any given time. So let's launch these and see what they look like. Here they are. So there's one, and then I can wait. There's a cooldown to launch the second one, so keep that in mind. Even though you can launch one and have it helping you in doing things, note you have to wait this long just to launch the second one. So keep that in mind when you're in combat. You'll want to launch the first one immediately when combat starts, and that way by the time the cooldown's done here, now you can launch a second one, because that 25-second cooldown is pretty killer. If you're right in the middle of battle, you can't launch 2 simultaneously. You have to wait for that cooldown, so that kind of sucks. But eventually, if you can get 2 of them out, then that's the max you can have on this ship, is 2 of them. And obviously you've got your hangar controls: attack, escort, intercept, and recall. The info on them is these have a 47,278 hull. That's a pretty good hull, but these are frigates. They're not fighters, so they have a little bit better weaponry and hull strength. So these could definitely help your dreadnought quite a bit, but you only get 2 of them max. So just keep that in mind. Now these are the regular ones. These are just the regular rare version of these. If you go to the dilithium store, you should be able to get better ones. You should be able to get right here the advanced Vorgon Ytijara frigates, and these would be better. Let's see what the specs are on them. These are also level 66, but let's see, they do 2 times Tetrion beam, 1 Tetrion dual beam, 1 Tetrion beam array, 1 Chronoton mine launcher, and then they have mine dispersal pattern alpha 2 and suppression barrage 2, whereas the abilities on the other one were just level or tier 1. So just a little bit better on the abilities there with these. I don't know what the actual hull strength on these would be though, and I'm not going to spend the dilithium right now to get that because I don't have a whole lot anyway. So there's that, and then if you go to the fleet starbase, there will be elite ones. There will be even better ones, and we will take a look at those that you can add to this ship, and they'll have even better specifications. So if you want the best hangar bay ability on this one, you would want to go with the elite ones from your fleet starbase. But let's look at the rest of everything on this ship. It has a full tier 6 starship mastery, so you've got the first one here is rapid repairs. Regenerates 1540 hull, 1.25% of your current max every 3 seconds in space and twice out of combat. You have this one, which is a plus 25 energy damage resistance and plus 25 radiation damage resistance. You have this one, which is a plus 2.5% critical chance improvement. And this one is a plus 10% hull hit points, so you will gain hull strength. And then the trait, the starship trait, is called Sif Burst. That is Structural Integrity Field Burst. It's a your hull heals will trigger a PBAOE damage over time. So when using a hull healing bridge officer ability, like engineering team, or I guess hazard emitter, something that will heal your hull, when you use that to up to 3 foes within 3 kilometers, you do radiation damage every 1 second to them. So if there are 3 foes that are within 3 kilometers of your ship, then you will be doing radiation damage to those foes. 1 second for 5 seconds, 100% shield penetration, but again, remember, they have to be very close to your ship for that damage to occur. They have to be within 3 kilometers. For a dreadnought type ship, where you will have fighters fighting and, all kinds of beams going everywhere, I don't know that they would ever get that close to your ship. But I guess if there's a big swarm of ships, and I guess like the Herc, for example, then this ability could help. But again, those enemies just have to be close for it to work. If they're not, then this is pretty much a wasted starship trait. So it's all about the closeness that they are to you, and then the fact that it only works if you're using a hull healing ability. So you want to heal your shields, that's not going to work. You want to do something else, it's not going to work. It has to be a hull healing ability. At that moment, you have to be healing your hull for it to work. So it's a very specific situation that this trait will work in. A very specific situation. Closeness to the enemy, really close, and healing your hull at the same time. So that's why I question the usefulness of it, is because of those facts. I don't really like any ability that only works if you enable another ability. Like, I have to use that ability for that ability to work. Typically, those aren't that great. And then, on top of that, the enemy has to be really close to the ship. So I question the usefulness of it, but I guess we'll find out. Obviously, I have not unlocked it yet. So we'll find out once it's unlocked how useful that actually is. The unique console, you're probably wondering, is this thing right here. This is the Universal SIF Inverter, or Structural Integrity Field Inverter. Now, just having this on your ship gives you a passive 3.3% maximum hull capacity, so that increases your hull strength, and a starship hull restoration, improves hull healing. So just having that on your ship will give you those. I like passive abilities like those. Those are cool. When you enable this ability, to yourself, heavy damage, and to the foe, extreme radiation damage over time, and self-drain. Reduces your hull to 50% of current lost hull, is recovered over 10 seconds. To target, radiation damage, ignore shields 1 second for 10 seconds. Damage increased by the amount of hull lost at activation. So, I'm actually going to lose hull strength when I do this, but I'm going to be doing heavy damage to the enemy, like radiation damage. Again, I question the usefulness of that to drain my hull to do more damage to an enemy. I don't know. We'll just have to see how that works in combat. It's kind of strange, to the ability, to be honest with you. Kind of strange. But it is part of the a set called the Weapon Expertise set. You need the Subphasic Defense Drone and Harasser Probes. And you can get a Set 2 and Set 3 bonus from this thing. And if you do that, you get something called Vorgon Expertise, which is a plus 19% Chronoton mine and torpedo damage, and plus 19% Tetrion energy weapon damage. So that's definitely something you would want to pursue, even just to get more Tetrion weapon damage. And then the Set 3 bonus, if you have all the pieces, is called Destructive Velocity, which is plus 20 flight speed for your mines and torpedoes. Again, I wouldn't use mines, but I guess more flight speed for the torpedoes could be interesting, but honestly, it's that Set 2 bonus I would really be after for that extra Tetrion damage and Chronoton torpedo damage. So I would use Chronoton torpedoes on this ship. The stats that I'm sitting at right now, again, I'm not using, obviously you can see I don't have any consoles in here, nothing. But right now it's sitting at 123,207 hull, so it actually has a pretty high hull strength. And it can go higher once we unlock this trait here, plus 10% hull hit points. We'll make that go up even more. Hull repair rate's 105%. Obviously, all these stats are going to change based on your skills that you have set, your traits you have enabled, your space traits you have enabled, your reputation traits, your personal traits. Everything that you have will make these numbers differ. But this is what I'm looking at on my character, which this is Ensign Ricky, and he is an engineering captain right now. My shields are at 8,000. Again, that's just a standard shield it comes with. But they're at 8,000, 27, upper 20s, lower 30s on resist. 52% critical severity and a 3.5% crit chance. It's very low. Only have 3 tactical consoles, so keep that in mind. Only 3 there. And then my turn rate, if we go to impulse here, is 14.9, so that is buffed higher than the default, I think. I forget what the default spec is. I'm wondering... Yes, I have pilot enabled right now, and pilot gives you a plus 40% turn rate increase. So I have a plus 40% turn rate buff on this ship. So that turn rate is with that 40% buff. So with the pilot specialization enabled, this is the turn rate. So even with that 40% buff, you can see that the turn rate is still slow. I mean, that's with the pilot turn rate buff. That's with it. And it's still turning that slow. That's why I really would not go with a cannon build on this ship. It just doesn't make sense. This is the kind of ship where you don't move around a lot in. And so you'd want a whole bunch of beams going everywhere. And 360-degree beams in the back, that just makes the most sense. You would definitely want fire at will. You would definitely want a lot of beams with this ship. Because if that's the turn rate with the turn rate buff that I have, just imagine without it, it would be even slower. So that's what we're looking at on everything. In terms of stations, like I said, it's got a commander engineering. It's also got an ensign universal slot. And it's got an extra little, I believe, what is that, command? Or is that temporal? Maybe that's temporal. Yeah, it's temporal ops. So that's temporal. So it has a temporal station in it. And then tactical and science. And just kind of looking at the configuration. This is what's slotted on mine by default. I didn't change these at all, but like for example, you could use the universal temporal slot to have more tactical abilities if you wanted, or you could use it for something completely different, or you could put all temporal abilities there. And then of course you're already going to have your full commander ability engineering here, so that's why I think it would make more sense to go ahead and use this one for tactical, just like I'm using, except obviously I'd change my powers around or something, but you get the idea. Something like that, or whatever. But that's what it comes with. That's the bridge officer station seating on it right there. So that's what you have to play with. I'm trying to think of what else to cover. That is pretty much it. The only thing we can do is we can go into combat and I can show you guys what the ability looks like. I can show you what the console ability looks like and what it does. I can't show you what the starship trait looks like because obviously I don't have it enabled yet, but I can show you at least what the SIF inverter beam does. And so that's what we'll do right now. We'll just go to one of the Romulan patrols. It's very simple and easy. I won't be bothering other players that way because obviously my build is not good at the moment and would not help a lot of people. But this way I can just show you the frigates in action, and I can show you what the console does. So we'll just go to good old Japori. Not the fastest transwarp. Of course, I don't have a unique warp core on right now, just a regular warp core. Just trying to think of anything else I can show you on the ship. Really, that's it. You know, the two unique things that I have right now is the frigates for the hangar bay, and then the SIF inverter. That's pretty much it, because I do not have the 6th or the 5th mastery trait unlocked, the starship trait, and I don't have the better version of the hangars yet. And obviously, I don't even have any consoles. I've got no tactical consoles right now, buffing Tetrion damage, and I've got nothing in my inventory to put in there, even temporarily, for Tetrion damage. So yeah, I'm not doing a ton of DPS and all that right now. But I should have all of the weapons on auto fire, so at least everything will fire. Let's go to Japori, and I'll just show you what it looks like. In combat. Here we go. We're going to launch my fighter. And see, this is the part that sucks.
Nice to see someone else who answers distress calls.
I've got that 20-second cooldown before I can launch my next fighter. So while I go into combat, I'm still having to wait to launch the next fighter. Here goes the SIF inverter. So that was that. Okay, where are my frigates? Okay, there's one, I think. So you can see what he's doing, and there's the damage he's doing. Well, they both got him. They both are actually not doing too terrible. Yeah, there's my frigates firing. Pretty cool. Well, there you go. That gives you an idea of what it's like in combat. I mean, it's pretty capable. I think once we get a good build on it, it should be pretty capable. It's not an uncapable ship, and it's got a very high hull strength, which I like. Let's go do a Borg STF, because those are a little tougher because they really strip your shields. But it will show how good the hull strength is on the ship. Yeah, I think there's potential with this ship, with a very good build. I think this could be a fun ship to fly, especially, I mean, let's consider it's free practically. You just have to grind for it for the summer event, but it's a free ship. So those that are free to play and don't want to pay for a ship, it's a pretty good free ship. Well, is it going to go? I hate how the queue system works. You just never know. Is it going to go? Is it not? I accepted. Why isn't it going? I don't know. Let's go toward the fleet starbase though, because what I want to show you is the elite frigates that you can put on it for the hangar bay. So we'll just head there. Hopefully this will work. There we go.
Disarm your weapons. You will escort us to your home world, where we will begin assimilating your culture and technology.
Again, you know, I've just fired off that one, but I have to wait for the cooldown for the second one. Does move a little slow. That's something I'd want to work on. I didn't even get the fire on that ship. Yeah, it does move a little slow. Just have to get used to that.
We will add your technological and biological distinctiveness to our own. Capabilities are unable to withstand us. Lower your shields and await assimilation.
Okay, one more. Oh, there we go. We will do the SIF inverter beam one more time. We'll do it on the big ship here, so that you can see it in action from underneath it.
Resistance detected. Human entrance 0047. 3 of 10. Engaging now.
Again, that turn rate is killer.
You will be assimilated.
There you go. Oops. That got me. I'm not immune to that. Well, this was a very powerful team, so they Had no trouble. But I think that should give you an idea for how this thing might fight, how you might want to set it up and build it if you get the ship. Let's take a quick look at the Fleet Starbase. Like I said, we'll take a look at that Elite Frigate so you can see what that's like. If you're in a fleet, you would definitely want that better hangar bay option. And then we will end with going to Earth Space Dock and checking out the customization menu and see what ways we can customize the looks of the ship. And then we'll end on that. I see potential in this ship. I mean, it's a free ship, you know, so I see the potential there. If you have a really good build you design for it, I think it could be a capable ship. The fact that it's not like really large impresses me. I was thinking that we were going to get a really big ship, you know, like just a really big ship. But being a little bit bigger than Galaxy size, Galaxy class size, not bad, not too bad at all. I can live with that. It's just the turn rate, that darn turn rate. You know, I like a fast-moving and highly maneuverable ship. So, for me personally, you know, that kind of gets to me. But maybe other people like that. That's fine. Everybody plays the game differently, that's for sure, and plays for different reasons. And that's all fine, of course. If this would just load a little faster, that would be great. Now, I don't know if this character is the one that I will actually do the full review of the ship on or not. Maybe so, though. Who knows? I need to get together a good Tetrion build for it. I want to keep my build thematic to the Vorgons and the fact that the hangar ships, the frigates, fly Tetrion weapons. I just feel it better to keep everything the same. Just keep it all Tetrion. Crazy load lag. This happens a lot sometimes. Let's go and to your starbase. You want to go down here. Right over here, and you should find hangars, and then you should find elite hangars. And here you go, the elite Vorgon Ytijara frigates. These again are level 66, but they have better abilities. You got 2 times Tetrion beam array, 1 times Tetrion dual beam bank, 1 Tetrion beam array, 1 chronoton mine launcher, mine dispersal pattern alpha 3, and suppression barrage 3. So it looks like the biggest upgrade for these is just upgrading the mine dispersal pattern and the suppression barrage abilities up to you know, tier 3 on that. But as you can see, they're not cheap. 100,000 fleet credits for me, 38,250 dilithium. Not cheap, but if you're going to fly the ship, having these better frigates here would definitely help you. Definitely be something you'd want anyway. But I'm just letting you know and showing you where you would get those to add to the ship. Now let's go back to Earth Space Dock, and we will take a look at customizing the ship and see if there's anything we can do to customize it visually, other than putting on, you know, like a unique shield or something like that, which can also change it visually. No, let's go to back to sector. just transport back to Seoul. And we'll just go take a look at the customization options. So here's the ship by default. You do only have one template called Ytijara. Interior, there is a Vorgon interior, so check that out. The window type, there's only type 1. There's only one material type, so you will not be changing the material on it. And there are no style options. There is only the Vorgon pattern option, or none. So you can make the ship look very dull and probably change the color of it there. Nope, that doesn't even change anything. And neither does that. So you are not changing the color of it. If you choose none, you'll have no pattern and it will just look like that. Otherwise, you'll have the Vorgon pattern, and then from there you can change like the color of that pattern. So it had like a very pinky kind of thing like that. But you can definitely change that. And then under the Vorgon pattern, you can change the secondary color underneath the stripes as well. So white is what it wants, but you could make it dark black here, and that's about the darkest you can make the ship. But you could do some unique things to it, make it kind of bluish. And that's pretty much all you're going to be able to do to the ship, though, is change the color type. That's going to be about all you can do to it. You can't change anything else visually. And it does come with a unique Vorgon interior, but otherwise, that's what you get out of the ship. Now, there is another way to change the ship visually, of course, and that is to use the visuals, and you've got deflector, impulse, and shield. If you put a different shield on here, well, you can make it look totally different. For example, here's the Terran Task Force shield. Let's see what that looks like on the ship. I bet that looks a lot different. I often find the Terran Task Force shield visuals to be very appealing. I like them on a lot of Starfleet ships. But let's see what it looks like on the Vorgon ship. Take this, put it here. Look at that, a lot different. So that's going to be how you will change the visual appearance of this ship, is through whatever shield you put on it, especially in the visual. We got kind of a disco floor thing going on down here now. But that's the Terran Task Force shield. So it does drastically change the look of it. What other shield might I have on here that I could put on? Yeah, looks like I don't have any other shields to check out at the moment, but you guys get the idea. Try different shields and make it look different. Maybe in the full review I will show what different shields look like. That could be something, so you get an idea for how you could change the ship visually with a different shield. But obviously that's the only way to make a big change on the ship. Otherwise it's going to look like this. Well, that is pretty much my preview video of the ship. Got a lot of work to do on it to see what works best. And of course, all that will come in the future. I will have a full review on this ship. When in the future I have that review, I do not know. So subscribe and hit the bell to get updates on when videos are published, because there's no telling when that full review will come out. It'll just be up sometime, someday in the future. But for now, this is a preview of the Dreadnought for the summer event, and that's this way you know what you're grinding for and if you even want to grind for it. So that is the deal. That's the ship you're going to get, though, with that when you finish. There you go. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.